In the frozen reaches of the Arctic, a ranger hears a desperate cry, an urgent call that launches a chain of events pushing the boundaries of endurance, bravery, and the silent bond between humans and the wild. During his usual morning patrol, Arctic Ranger Ethan Walker picked up a haunting sound carried on the wind. The cold bit harder than usual that day, snow swirling thick in the air and obscuring his view. Following the echo, Ethan arrived at a fragile ice bridge arching over a partially frozen river. Below, in a deep pit carved into the ice, he found a young polar bear cub, exhausted, shivering, and clearly losing strength. The walls of the pit were steep and unnaturally smooth, clearly altered by human hands. Poachers, tool marks lined the ice, and fresh claw scratches showed the cub's desperate attempts to escape. The slick rim of the pit was coated in frozen water, a trap within a trap. A few drops of blood stained the edge. The cub had injured itself trying to climb free. Scanning the area, Ethan soon spotted the mother bear nearby, caught in a steel net laid by the poachers. Her paw was tangled in thick cables, already badly wounded. Every movement only made her injury worse. She looked toward her cub, powerless. The trap was expertly rigged, its cables anchored deep into an ice block embedded in the ground. Each tug drew the net tighter. Ethan glanced at his watch. The temperature had dropped again. Snow fell steadily into the pit, forming an icy crust on the cub's fur. Its movement slowed, cries fading into soft whimpers. Ethan knew he had to act fast. The cub couldn't last much longer. From his backpack, he pulled out climbing gear, strong rope, carabiners, and pulleys for a makeshift hoist. Even inside, heated gloves, his fingers were going numb. He worked quickly, securing the rope to a nearby ice outcrop. Time was slipping through his fingers. Every second counted. His first throw missed. The rope was stiff, unwieldy in the freezing air. The cub flinched weakly as it brushed its side. The second try also failed. The loop slid off the snowy fur. Then Ethan heard a sound in the distance, the low hum of snowmobiles. The poachers were coming back. His movements grew faster, more focused. On the third try, the rope held. He tightened the loop and began lifting the cub slowly, carefully avoiding the jagged ice. The sound of engines drew closer. With a final pull, the cub reached the surface, covered in frost, breathing raggedly. Ethan examined it quickly. Aside from minor cuts, the real threat was hypothermia. He pulled a thermal blanket from his pack, wrapping the cub gently. It didn't resist. Its half-closed eyes held a flicker of trust. Ethan tucked it behind a snowbank, hidden from sight, and turned back to the mother bear. The chain's lock was more complex than he expected. The poachers had used an anti-tamper mechanism. His hand shook as he pulled out a multi-tool. To his surprise, the mother bear stilled, watching him, breathing clouds into the frigid air. Blood from her paw had started to freeze. The snowmobiles were close now. Voices rang out, cheerful, unaware their prize had slipped away. Ethan worked faster. The lock was delicate. Any mistake could cause more harm. He focused, relying on experience. The first layer clicked open. 2, more to go. Time was vanishing. Suddenly the poachers appeared through the swirling snow. 3 men, armed. The leader, tall with a gray beard, was the first to spot the empty trap. His expression darkened. Another moved toward the mother bear. Ethan stayed low behind her massive form, still working the lock. His fingers found the second mechanism. Another click. The second layer released. 1 left. Then one of the poachers noticed movement. "Hey, someone's here," he shouted, stepping forward. Ethan didn't look up. He didn't have time. His fingers moved on instinct. Final lock mechanism in hand. Sorry for the brief pause. Before we dive back into the story, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. It means a lot to us. Thank you. A sudden gust of wind swept across the clearing, sending a flurry of snow straight into the poachers' faces, momentarily blinding them. That instant was all Ethan needed. The lock gave way with a satisfying snap, and the chain clattered to the ground, its sound sharp in the Arctic stillness. Sensing her release, The mother bear rose up, immense and majestic, like a mountain come to life. Her snow-dusted body loomed over the stunned poachers, eyes blazing with fierce resolve. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then panic erupted. The poachers stumbled back in fear, and Ethan used the chaos to vanish into the blizzard. Behind him, the bear's roar thundered through the frozen air, followed by the scattered shouts of terrified men. Ethan moved quickly, returning to where he'd hidden the cub. He knew the mother would find it by scent. From a distance he watched, heart pounding as the mother bear emerged, still wild with adrenaline. She sniffed the air, found her cub, and gently picked it up. Without hesitation, she disappeared into the white wilderness, carrying her young deeper into the safety of the reserve. The weeks that followed were tense. Ethan knew the poachers wouldn't let this go. He began noticing strange snowmobile tracks in isolated parts of the reserve. It felt like he was being watched. One especially bitter day, the temperature plunged even lower than usual. Ethan stumbled upon fresh signs, crushed snow, cigarette butts, the distinct imprint of a snowmobile's path. He pulled out his camera to document the evidence, unaware he was already in someone's sights. The first shot tore through the silence, sharp and sudden, more a crack than a bang. Ethan instantly recognized it as a blank, a trick, a lure, a way to push him out into the open. And it worked. He dove behind a snow-covered spruce, but too late. Shapes moved in from all sides. 4 men, armed, steady. Among them, Ethan recognized the leader, the gray-bearded man from before, cold eyes, colder smile, the kind of man who thrived in places where rules didn't reach. Still playing the hero, the man sneered, giving a subtle hand signal. The others closed in without hesitation, moving with practiced ease. Their formation was tight, military, efficient. Ethan's hand reached for his radio, a last-ditch attempt to call for backup, but a blow struck him from behind, sharp and sudden. The world tilted as he hit the ground, breath ripped from his lungs. Cold snow burned his face. Before he could react, they were on him, hands rough and unforgiving. They flipped him over, bound his wrists with thick rope that dug into his skin. One man tore open Ethan's backpack, scattering the contents into the snow without a second thought. Tools, supplies, his compass, all tossed aside. His radio landed with a muted thud in a snowbank. His phone vanished beneath a wave of powder. The gray-bearded leader unrolled a worn, weathered map. Its corners curled, paper cracked from years in the cold. He jabbed a finger at a marked point. "There," he barked, offering no explanation. Then he shoved Ethan forward. They marched through the snow for what felt like hours, an unrelenting, trudged through deepening drifts and rising wind. Each step was heavier than the last. Frost clung to everything. The beginnings of a blizzard took hold. Ethan's boots crunched rhythmically, but even that sound was swallowed by the storm. The cold crept through every layer, stealing warmth and hope in equal measure. This stretch of the reserve was isolated, unpatrolled and forgotten. And in weather like this, help wasn't coming. Any hope of someone stumbling upon them was vanishing. Ethan felt the weight of that realization sink in. This place had been chosen with care. Remote, forgotten, swallowed by storm and silence. Then without warning, everything shifted. One of the poachers in front of Ethan came to an abrupt halt. His shoulders tensed, his expression drained of color, eyes wide with something between fear and disbelief. He had heard it. Something that didn't belong to the storm. The others stopped too, their instincts sensing the disturbance. Silence fell except for the wind. And then it came again. A deep guttural growl, low and rumbling as if the earth itself had spoken. The sound seemed to vibrate up through the soles of their boots. A shape emerged through the blizzard. Massive, white, and moving with impossible grace. She made no sound, her paws ghosting over the snow. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. He knew her. That crescent-shaped scar across her paw left no doubt. She was the mother bear, the same one he'd rescued months ago. Back then, she had been weak, wounded, barely clinging to life. Now she was a force of nature, majestic, silent, and utterly focused. Her breath billowed in thick clouds, her fur cloaked in snow. "Don't move," the gray-bearded leader whispered, hoarsely, his rifle rising with slow caution. But the bear was already there, placing herself firmly between Ethan and the poachers. She stood like a wall of living muscle, unshaken, eyes locked on the intruders. She didn't growl again, not yet. Her message was clear. No one would come near him. The poachers faltered, weapons still in hand but inching lower with every passing second. Fear wrestled with pride in their eyes. The bear's body tensed slightly, her head dipped just enough to show her readiness. A low, rumbling growl spilled from her throat, deeper and more forceful than before. She wasn't attacking. She was promising. And then a crack in the nerves. One of the poachers snapped. His hand fumbled toward his weapon, trembling, frantic. The bear exploded into sound. Her roar cut through the blizzard like a thunderclap, a deafening primal blast. A fury that shook the trees. She stepped forward, only a step, but in that single motion she seemed to grow twice her size. Her teeth gleamed, her eyes blazed, and her power became unmistakably clear. That was all it took. "Let's go!" the leader shouted, his voice sharp with panic. He stumbled back, losing all composure. The others bolted, no longer thinking, only fleeing. Snow flew underfoot as they tripped and scrambled to escape. Their rifles, their packs, their gear, everything was abandoned in the chaos. Training was gone, greed forgotten, fear had taken over. The bear didn't follow. She didn't need to. She stood her ground, unmoving, watching them vanish into the storm. Only when the last sound of footsteps faded into silence did she finally turn her head. She looked down at Ethan. He lay bound, breath fogging in the freezing air. The connection forged months ago, when he had offered help without expecting trust, had endured. He tensed as she stepped closer, the primal part of his mind reminding him how dangerous she was. His heart pounded. She lowered her head, warm breath brushing against his frozen skin. Her nose touched the ropes, sniffing, examining. Then, with slow, deliberate movement, she began to act. She lowered her massive jaws around the ropes. Her teeth, built for ripping through thick seal hide, worked with surprising care. Bit by bit, she gnawed at the coarse restraints, slicing through the fibrous strands with precise strength. Ethan felt a sudden jolt as the last thread snapped. His hands were free. The bear took a step back, her gaze steady, not turning to leave. It was as if she was waiting for him to rise, to find his balance, to fully grasp that he was no longer in danger. Ethan slowly stood, stretching the stiffness from his limbs. His wrists were raw, marked by the ropes, but he was otherwise unharmed. "Thank you," he whispered, meeting her dark, intelligent eyes. The bear tilted her head, as though the sound meant something to her. In that moment, something extraordinary passed between them, a silent understanding forged not in words but in action. Man and beast, both saviors in their own way, stood together in the heart of the Arctic wilderness. Ethan knew he had witnessed something rare. This creature, one of nature's fiercest predators, had remembered him. And more than that, she had chosen to help him. It wasn't just instinct. It was recognition. It was grace. After a few heartbeats, the bear turned, her immense form retreating into the endless white. Slowly, she disappeared into the storm, leaving behind only her tracks in the snow, and a story Ethan would carry for the rest of his life. That day changed everything for him. His view of wild animals, of survival, of what was possible in a place so often ruled by cold indifference, it all shifted. He had seen kindness in the wild, he had felt it, and he would never forget. Did this story move you? Do you believe wild animals can remember an act of kindness and even return it? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Kindness is never wasted. Sometimes it returns when you need it the most. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay warm, stay kind, and take care.